Hi Class 5. Today what we're going to be doing in literacy is looking at fronted adverbials. Now we've looked a lot on fronted adverbials even in Year 4, and in Year 5 we've extended our knowledge on fronted adverbials to make them a lot more exciting and meaningful in our writing. And just to remind you of the questions that we can help ourselves to create these amazing fronted adverbials, we can think of where, why, when, and how. And the answers to these questions can help you put the information into the fronted adverbial, which we know goes at the front of a sentence. And do you remember what it has after the fronted adverbial? You're right, it has a comma. Every fronted adverbial has a comma after it. Okay? So if we look at the sentence down the bottom here, we've got a gap for the fronted adverbial, and then Mr. Salmon drew a right angle on the whiteboard. So if we look at the first question, where? Well, where am I? I'm in my living room. So what I could say, in his living room, Mr. Salmon drew a right angle on the whiteboard. So it just gives the writing and the reader an extra piece of information. It's being more specific. Why? In order to help the children work from home, Mr. Salmon drew a right angle on the whiteboard. So that's the why part of it. When? As the clock struck 11, Mr. Salmon drew a right angle on the whiteboard. So not just saying at 11 o'clock, I made it a bit more exciting, as the clock struck 11. Okay? And how? Using a blue pen and very carefully, Mr. Salmon drew a right angle on the whiteboard. So that was describing how I did it. So we can add these into a lot of sentences in our writing. And these are the questions that can help us get to an excellent fronted adverbial. Okay? So every time you think, I think I can add a fronted adverbial in there, ask yourself these questions. Where is it happening? Why is it happening? When is it happening? And how is it happening? Okay? What I am going to do for the exercise is I am going to draw a right angle on the board. But I'm going to be a bit dramatic and a bit of acting. It might be a bit emphasised and a bit forced, but I really want you to look at me and sense how I'm doing something, or why I'm doing something, where I'm doing it, or when I might be doing it. Try and think and be creative in your thinking and your fronted adverbials, and describe where, why, when, how I am drawing the right angle. Okay? So keep playing the video. I am going to draw right angles, but a bit differently. You need to describe, using these questions as a guide, how I'm doing things and where, why, when. Okay? I will also give my answers after I've acted it out, just so you can see if yours was close to mine, or it might be very different, but I'm sure they will both be very, very effective in their own way. Okay? Good luck with it, and once again, be as creative as you can. See you soon. As you can see, the fronted adverbial is sighing with sadness, and that describes how Mr. Salmon drew a right angle on the whiteboard. Can you think of other fronted adverbials that would describe how I could have drawn the right angle on the whiteboard? Here's another example of how Mr. Salmon drew a right angle on the whiteboard. I am exhausted after my workout. So that is how I've drawn the right angle on the whiteboard. In this one, the fronted adverbial is immediately after his bike ride. So that is an example of when Mr. Salmon drew a right angle on the whiteboard. Can you think of any other fronted adverbials that would describe when I could have drawn the right angle on the whiteboard? Now what I'd like you to do is have a go at your own fronted adverbials that match the questions where and why Mr. Salmon drew a right angle on the whiteboard. Good luck. Okay, well done with those. I hope you remembered your comma after the fronted adverbial and you used those questions that I had at the beginning as guides to help you with your fronted adverbials to add that extra information in, because as you saw throughout the sentences, they became completely different depending on what I was doing. Okay, and now what you can do is maybe act out things in your house or in your garden, maybe with some of your family members. Act out and see if you can write your own fronted adverbials with whatever it is that you are doing. Okay, I'll see you for the next lesson. Bye.